You do not do that. Like that is too good.
Didn't Iggy Pop like this? He wanted to play with the Stooges because they look cool.
Yeah,
Like
and he was
before
originally a
he knew
drummer.
them.
It's just because he didn't give any fucks. We played our first show under just different band name, which I'd rather not say what it was. We played our first show under a different band name. Me and Brady had like, a Bad Bunny face, so we were like, let's try to write a reggaeton song because this shit rips.
They're a party-provoking force in the LA underground music scene. With post-punk sounds, they bring rage-ready and serotonin-boosting music to their more than 144,000 monthly listeners. Please welcome Cameron, Melissa, and Brady of Sextile to the podcast. How are you guys all doing today?
Right?
I'm great. What's up?
I'm melting.
Mountain, it's hot. Hot in LA.
I don't have AC and it's like 96 degrees out or something right now.
Yeah, no.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, and enjoying summer, enjoying the warm weather. Hopefully, and thankfully, it hasn't gotten like too hot or like just boiling here. It's warm. I'm out on the East Coast, so
Where on the East Coast are you?
for the summer, I'm up in Rhode Island, and so I've been enjoying.
Oh, nice.
It is warm, but we have like a cool breeze coming through most of the time, so that's always nice. So, just first question to get into it, like, what was the first experience with music like for each of you, or what really clicked in your mind? Like, music is, what I want to get into or like start doing for a career.
Who wants
Uh,
Mel?
you want me?
I don't know if it's really a career yet. Maybe one day, you know.
Yeah.
Lifelong passion.
Yeah.
Melissa, how about you?
I mean, I knew I wanted to make music after I had heard music that had made me feel like it. I don't know. I guess, for lack of a better term, it gave me a spiritual experience, which was a young age for me with Nirvana. I heard that, and I had loved music prior to that, but Janet Jackson and the B-52s and things that I had heard because I was very young when I first heard Nirvana. I was 8, but I'd never had heard something that made me relate to it so much that it completely changed my identity and sort of still remains true today. Sort of made me realize more of who I was. And because I love the band so much, I wanted to start playing music, but I never thought about it as like a career or like a real thing. I feel like I naturally gravitated to musicians and other like-minded people, so it just kind of happened for me. I didn't like strive to become good at playing music as much as I just loved art and subculture and any culture around music and fashion. All of those things being influenced by music.
Nice.
Yeah, I think for me, I was like I've always been interested in had a passion with music. I've been playing drums and instruments like from like age 9 or 10, but I don't think it was till when I was like 17 when I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this for real. And I like started teaching, like I would spend 6 hours a day teaching myself Ableton Live to try to learn how to produce and mix on my own as well, because the friends who I had started a band with in college, they all like when it got time to like get to their majors, they were like, we're gonna focus on our majors. And I didn't understand that. I was like, wait, what? You guys don't want to do music anymore? And it like really, it kind of upset me, but it drove me to the point where I was like, screw them. I'm going to do this myself and figure out how to do it myself. And that's when I started teaching myself Ableton seriously. And I spent a lot of time doing it. And I feel like that was a significant point in my life where I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to do music.
Yeah. Nice. Cameron, did you have like a specific moment at all?
I would say that I just started to actually be active playing music when I was just in like little punk bands in middle school and high school. And that was kind of I remember that was a time around Nirvana and all that. And so that was an inspiring time for like rock and roll or whatever. But it's weird, it just never stops, like you think that you just do something and it's not gonna keep going, but I still am playing music. So I don't know. I I haven't
Yeah,
thought about it. It just keeps going.
it's just been a like constant thing since then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did this current band Sextile sort of start to form? How did y'all like meet each other? And just what are the origin stories of that?
Well, we all actually met separately, like in New York. Me and Cameron met a really, really long time ago. And then Brady moved to New York. I guess it was like 12 years ago or something. He moved to New York, and I met him pretty shortly after that. But we didn't actually form Sextile until we all ended up on the West Coast. Um, we originally, Brady and I started Sextile with two other people, Eddie Rubin and Kenny. And the band changed a lot through the years. And when Kenny left the band, um, we had to find a replacement, and Cameron was somebody we already knew, and now he's been in the band. Actually, this is the longest this formation has been. It's been this setup. So
Mhm.
that was years ago when that shift happened, and yeah, now Sextile is and probably will always be just us three, really.
So, what I guess like tips or advice would you give to other people who maybe they want to start a band or they know a couple people that they want to try to like convince to join a band with them? How would you like advise them to go about it or like find people that they could collaborate with?
Mm, um,
I would I would say
uh,
it's probably essential that you play music with your friends, instead of just looking for someone that's good at guitar or
mhm.
good at drums. Like I think essentially it's like you hang out with that person more than you make music with that person. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think there's two things to this that um and to kind of add on what Cameron said, like you don't really want to find somebody that's good. You want to find somebody who's open to listening to you and to listening to each other and experimenting. Um, I think like when Eddie joined the band, he was originally playing guitar, but he was so good at guitar, like he was wailing and doing all this like crazy stuff. But and usually you'd feel like somebody, "Oh, wow, that's great," but we're like, you do not do that. Like that is too good. Like you need to play shittier. And so we just he couldn't do it. He was too good, so we moved him to synth, and he started playing synth. Of course, he mastered that in no time. But like he approached it in a different way, and because he didn't know how to play it traditionally or anything, it gave him like this, I don't know, intuitive insight or like some instinctual thing where you're really developing and growing with the instrument and not playing it in a traditional way and really having your own take on it. And I think that's super important when collaborating with people is they don't and like they don't have to be good. You just have to be willing.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
definitely
would, yeah.
the problem with being taught is that you're learning somebody else's style. You create what your own style is, kind of teaching yourself. I think we live in a really cool time for that. Like
Mhm.
I think that because of the internet, we have access to learn a couple of tools, and then you can just keep playing and mastering it yourself to figure out what it is that is your style. But I think
Mm.
ultimately your question about like how people start a band, I mean, it's really like kind of just doing it. I feel
Yeah.
like I've reached many times in my life with all the years I've been making music with various people where it felt like defeating in the beginning to start something new. But it's funny with you want something to happen right away from it, and you don't think it is, but it is with every movement and time that you put into it. Um, and I think what Cameron said about with your friends, that is definitely the most important thing. Having taste and having chemistry seems to be the most important thing. I've
Yeah.
never strived to look for somebody to play with who is technically good at something. That has never worked out for us.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
like didn't Iggy Pop like this he wanted to play with the Stooges because they look cool, you know,
Yeah,
like
and he was
before
originally a
he knew
drummer.
them.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just because he didn't give any fucks. he was able to free as a singer, you know?
Uh,
Yeah.
I'd say the other last key thing to like starting a band and especially with your friends is you just have to schedule 2 days a week and you do everything you can to show up every time. The day you don't show up is the day that the band stops being important, and I think that's
Yeah.
huge.
And so once you guys sort of all found each other and came into this, or I guess formed the band before even this current lineup, at what point did the name Sextile like come up, or how was that thought of? Just everything behind the name.
That's a funny story. So we played our first show under different band name, which I'd rather not say what it was. But we played our first show under a different band name. And none of us liked it. Particularly me and Eddie were actually like, we have to find a different band name. And from that first show, this record label saw us and wanted to put out our record. So we knew with this record going to come out and having to record it that we needed a good band name. And my friends, who are also really good friends of Cameron's, the Black Lips, they had just played a show and we were all hanging out in our friend Bashi's backyard. And ironically, Cameron was there too. And we kept talking about band names and what band names we should have. Eddie was obsessed with astrology and kept using the word sextile when he was talking about other people's charts because it's a word that describes like a harmonious angle. And it's generally used in astrology because it's talking about them being planets being sextile with each other. And actually, our friend Vashi suggested, because he kept saying the word, that we use that as a band name. And at first, I didn't think anything of it. And then the second time around, she said it when I was talking about some goth club in LA. She said, but did they play Sextile there? And that was the first time that I heard it where I was like, yeah, that is a good band name because it sounded punk. It has the word sex in it. A 60-degree angle that's harmonious with another object is a really cool kind of sentiment. So we decided to go
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. And I guess, you sort of mentioned it there with this band being like pretty like pop punk focused. Like you guys all sort of started out in a very like underground scene. What sort of steps should artists go through, like starting from there to try to get discovered, get, maybe a label deal or just become more like mainstream?
I mean, initially, I think with most bands is you have to play as many shows as you can. People don't
Yeah.
think you exist without it. And
Yeah.
generally speaking, every good like band and scene has a lot of different bands and community of people and artists around them. So it's sort of like finding your people and what bands that you also like, striving to play with those bands. Um, we were lucky to be in LA. I think it's easier in major cities to do something like that to find your people. That's the only thing. If you're in a small town, it's a little harder. But luckily, we have the internet for exposure these days. So I would
Yeah.
suggest to kids that are in small towns to push as much as they can with like content online, no matter how corny that seems. It's just the truth of availability and easy way to get people to hear your music. But definitely, like one thing I've really realized over time is I used to be afraid when I was younger to ask musicians I respected or bands that I liked to play with them or collaborate with them. And then it was only in recent years that every person that I would ask, from my friends that can sell out stadiums to my friends that I just really respect but play small clubs, every person that I would ask to collaborate with or work with or play with or remix something, they'd all be down. So there's something to be said about just asking and reaching out to those people that whose art you respect.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
go to the DIY spots and avoid all the pay to play type of stuff. Like all those deals where venues try to like give you tickets where you go around and try to sell them to your friends to get them to the venue. They're not there to support you. They're not there. They're there to support themselves. You want to find the spaces that are there to support the artist. Like in Los Angeles, that's Non Plus Ultra. It's a great DIY community where artists of all levels can come in and really, test out their practice, test out their ideas, really try to begin to experiment. For us, it was like the play. I think they were the first venue that took us in and
There
let
was
us play there.
we played the Echo first, and Non Plus Ultra
Right.
was our
Yeah.
second show.
So
We've
yeah.
now done multiple music videos with Non Plus Ultra. They're just a true DIY community of artists, freaks, and everyone from every genre. When I say
Yeah.
freaks, it's just like everybody who is not
Yeah.
necessarily like considered normal in their community. I
Like, yeah.
think a lot of people listening to this probably could relate to that because we all get called that in high school. There's a reason for
Yeah.
that. So.
Yeah. And, Melissa, you mentioned it earlier, like when you were talking about this, a lot of artists now do a lot of work on social media or just online, push themselves, their band, their music, whatever. And some even take it as far as like they're straying away from just like making the best music they can or the music they want to make to try to make it more catchy or like work better on social media. I just wanted to get like from you guys, what's your opinion or take on that? And how do you think artists should like keep a true sound while still just like trying to push that?
I think honestly, my opinion is that nothing becomes successful when you purposely try to make it commercial because authenticity wins amongst humans no matter what. Because um, music is a spiritual experience for every human being, everyone all around the world. The one art form that everyone understands is music. It doesn't matter what the genre is. And the things that like really float through to people is the stuff when there's something relatable that hits, and that's when authenticity is like found, and that's within pop music, whatever, like and I think that nobody striving just for fame ever actually gets successful. I have not seen an experience of that. I think that most things like I think TikTok's actually a really great example of that. That's so many songs that have just broken through. We know some people who have the same booking agent as us, Moreau. I think that he didn't even start making music until the pandemic. So his music took off on TikTok before he ever even played a show. And I think that's because he wrote a banger of a song, and that's all that matters. It resonates with people when you have like something catchy that's authentic to you, that people just read right away. So
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think my take on it is like I mean, I'm not gonna shame the homie out there trying to produce and mix to make money really quickly and just like catch a bag. Because I understand there are those people out there that are less about music in the sense of art and less about making a statement or trying to change the genre or push it or elevate it. There's people that are just trying to commercialize and make a bag off of it, which if you're good at doing that, then you're good at doing that and you're capitalizing on trends. Like I'm not going to shame somebody for being able to do that. And that's their art, is being able to catch a trend and capitalize on a trend. But those are flash in the pans, and those people I doubt will be remembered and create a long-term fan base. And for us, that's what we want to do. We like to create a long-term fan base, grow with our fans, and try to really like grow with ourselves and push music to places that I feel um, aren't being explored.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. When you guys are together trying to make a new song, maybe an idea for a record, what's just in general like your guys' creative process like, or how does a song normally come about?
I mean, we definitely, this record tried to explore different genres than we have before. um Ultimately though, like even the songs that we tried that were different genres, like me and Brady had like a Bad Bunny phase, so we were like, let's try to write a reggaeton song because this shit rips, because Bad
Mhm.
Bunny's incredible. But Bad Bunny's incredible for the whole character, like for who he is and what he's doing for Latin music in the queer community. But I think he genuinely writes really great songs, and we tried, but it just didn't work coming from us, so those songs kind of got canned. What did work was the ones that came sort of natural in the Sextile process of like drums, bass, then vocals, which is usually how we write. um i I genuinely think that the songs that we deem worthy or successful are the ones that we genuinely vibe to and want to dance to, and so that kind of
Hmm.
fits the criteria with us.
Yeah. Nice. And I mean, for each of you, like, especially if you guys have different answers, we can go through, but is there any song from the band or individually that you guys released, and you either like expected it to do well and it sort of didn't do as well as you thought it would, or something that you weren't as excited about and it ended up like taking off and like really finding an audience?
We self-released a song called Crassy Mel that is coming out on our new record that is coming out on Sacred Bones. But before we signed with Sacred Bones, we had just put it out as a single ourselves. It's our most dynamic song. It definitely, like, you can hear the Prodigy in it. For people that aren't really, I know a lot of people that aren't into drum and bass music will be familiar with the Prodigy, and its similarities with that is because there's a guitar in the song too. But I actually thought that song would do better than it did. It's a weird song for us though. Like, it's not written in a standard way for most people. It's really aggressive. It's like a journey of a song, but because of that, I'm really proud of that song. I think that it's a super interesting track. But I also think that the reason that it didn't do as well is because we'd never released anything on our own before, and we only use a single social media platform, hoping people would know what's going on with it. And already seeing that since we just put out the New York single with Sacred Bones, the traction that they've been able to get with this song, you need a team behind you. As much as I wish the musicians can entirely do it on their own, I'm seeing from working with them that as an artist, a lot of us are super ADD and all over the place. So we're not always great with the business end of it and all the things that we need to hit and do to get people aware. Crossy Mellow, I think, didn't take off purely because people didn't know that it came out.
Yeah.
But I think that it will float further on now that it's coming out on the full length record.
Yeah, and especially, if anyone in like your true fan base that wants to listen to that sort of will sit down and listen through the record, like you sort of know that they'll get to it at some point, and hopefully if they are like big fans of what you do, big fans of your sound, they'll enjoy that one.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest song is a track called Disco, and before we put that out, I kind of knew that this was going to be our biggest song. The record it came out on is an EP called 3, and it's not my favorite song on that record. My favorite song on that record is a song called Hazing, which is also successful, but not nearly as successful as Disco. And I sometimes, like, I get why Disco's big, but I also like don't fully. Like, I don't know why some of the other songs that hit in the same way or have similar sounds or tones or vibes didn't hit as hard, because Disco, I think, is like, at 3.5 million plays, and like it gets played in so many clubs, or I'll just hear it out at a bar, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm really proud of it, and I think it's a great song. But it's an interesting one that it's our biggest one. So
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, your guys' latest single, New York. You said that the team really helped like push it and get it out there, get like eyes on it. But on top of that, like just what went into that song, or what can you tell us about this latest release?
That song kind of came up as an accident. Like, I feel like, so we were recording in the desert, and we had all these synthesizers and drum machines hooked up, like synced together, and that little like cute bum 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 ba-da-dum, bum 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 bum. That part, it was connected to the Korg Minilog XD on a setting and a like sequence that none of us remember sequencing or doing. It was just the bass line was being written, and that was just going with it, and it worked. So we just were like, record it. So it was kind of an accident, and then we needed to put vocals on it, but the song is so busy and so like acid oriented that it didn't need a lot of vocals. And so I went into my phone where I write down like notes, and I had written down a note about New York. We're tough out here, but the love goes crazy. And I had saved it as a lyric I wanted to use for a reference for a track that we'd write about New York. So I was reading off different lines to the guys, and then everyone was like, that's the one. So then I recorded me doing it. And then I just added the random okay, okay, are you ready? And that's pretty much the lyrics of the song. There's not much going on. But I think New York, the tone of the song sounds like kind of romantic while being a dance song. And so I actually can't imagine a better song like musically to go with sentiment over New York.
Yeah.
Because I really think New Yorkers are, it's funny, they get such a bad rap, right, for being rude and all this shit. But the truth is, I think New Yorkers are more full of love than any community I've ever been around. They are more open to conversation and openness in general. Just like New Yorkers just have the ability to be real and authentic. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I feel I'm really glad that the lyric fell into that track to represent New York.
Yeah, and I think a lot of their like lover support is also super clear when it's like about with another New Yorker or like supporting another artist, person, whatever the situation is, like another person from New York. It's such a strong like ecosystem really that they all sort of get it. A couple hypothetical like questions for each of you. If each of you got to make a song with like any artist or band in the world, who would each of you want Sextile to collaborate with?
God, alive, because that's hard. I wish that we could have worked with Andrew Weatherall, but he is gone. He is responsible for Primal Scream, Screamadelica sounding the way it does. I wish we could have worked
Mm,
with him.
Damien Albarn.
Yeah, Damon Albarn would be a really awesome collaboration. I think Damon Albarn has proven that he is not just a pretty boy. He is a extreme
Yeah.
talent who is
Yeah.
still so cool and such a great tastemaker.
Yeah.
And you know, I wasn't that pumped on the last Gorillaz record as much, but this new Blur album is impressive. And I just feel like he's yeah, he's just an incredible being. He really is.
Hmm. Cameron, do you have any more?
My brain is just frozen right now. Like, sorry, it's so hot in this
No,
room,
no,
but
yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. That happens. I like I ask this question a lot, like basically to each guest, and some of them like have someone front of mind that they bring up, and then it's funny to see people who are either like rambling on with and after often like all these people they want to, and people who sort of just like blank out and have no one, and they're like, and I'd love to collaborate, but I just can't think of that. The totally fine. I get it. And then the last like hypothetical for each of you is what, or I guess it's less of a hypothetical, but what uh like song of Sextiles do you think is your favorite? Like that you have, you can always just like listen to it and have a good time. It's your favorite either from how it sounds or just like the process that went into making it. Anything like that.
Um, I I mean this goes back to me talking about disco. Because my favorite is this song Hazing that's on that record.
Mm.
I think Hazing, whenever we play it live, I genuinely want to dance to it. It's such a great song. I don't know. It's really dark and sexy, and it just makes me want to move my body as well. Um,
yeah,
but I
I would
think
say
that
that
I'm
sounds
most
good.
pumped on the new record. There's a song called No Fun, and I love that one. It's really like bratty and punk while being electronic. So that's sort of the epitome of how I feel these days of most of the music that I like to listen to. So
Yeah. Nice. Cameron, you were gonna say something.
Well, I was saying Hazing is probably a song I can listen to multiple times without getting, you know, winding away from it. And same with No Fun. I would say that's kind of a highlight of the new record for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then just the last question I have for you guys today, what sort of coming up for you guys, or what can you tell us about like any upcoming projects or releases that you guys have?
Yeah, so we just announced yesterday our brand new single New York, and that we signed to the record label Sacred Bones, which we're super psyched on. And so we announced with that our new record Push, which is coming out September 15th on Sacred Bones. We have our record release show September 14th at the Fonda in Los Angeles. Following that in October, we have a full US tour that we just also posted about. So lots of things happening, lots of things
And
going
so,
on. The
and
full
some
thing.
shows in Canada too.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So a full North American tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's funny how like I'll see artists or bands be like North America tour and it's like everything's in the US and then they have like a show or two in Canada or something. But I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
North America, you know, that counts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty
Um,
funny.
well, I mean, yeah, those are all the questions I had for you guys today. So thank you so much, all for coming on. Where can people find, the band online, listen to music, anything you guys want to shout out, promote, feel free to do that.
I mean, we have a website, but I know people don't really use websites, but we might as well mention it. It's just sextile.app, like app. So if you were to put that in your browser, sextile.app, you can get all the information of whatever shows or releases or videos that we're doing and merch. Because we do post random kind of special pieces, one-offs of merch that we make that don't really get advertised on our social media at all. I'd say it's probably useful for that. And then in terms of us actually like doing the most updates would be Instagram. So that's Sextile Band.
Nice. Well, thank you all again so much for coming on. Make
Yeah,
sure
thank
to,
you.
mark the calendars and listen to Push September 15th. And,
Yeah, and
I
if you're in
can't, I,
LA, you come to our show September 4th because you
yeah,
at
Yeah.
the Fonda Theater because you can buy our record before everybody else has it.
yeah,
You are the
yeah.
realest one up in the crew. So
Yeah.
Yeah, go to that and then make sure to catch them on tour afterwards for in US and
Yes.
Canada,
yeah,
right?
definitely. It's a very rare experience for us to do an American tour. We haven't in years, so it's quite a big deal because it is
Yeah.
rare.
I think has it been like 6 or 7 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, since we toured America, because the last the last time we did it, we all came back broke and fighting. So it's like, like those things can break a band. So it's really important to
Yeah.
make sure that
Yeah,
everyone is like happy minded
Take
and
care of yourself.
yeah. So this time around, and we're touring with this guy from LA called Nate No Face who does synth punk and is an incredible performer. So I think the combination will really represent LA in a cool way and show you the amount of energy that we have here.
yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear the new record and hopefully if I get the chance, I'll come out to a show.
Well, you
And
better,
thank you
man.
guys again for coming on.